Hello everyone and welcome back to MixBest TV mixing and mastering tutorials on YouTube. I'm your host David and today rant mode is on. You read the title. Today we talk about why sometimes you hear some A-list engineer come up with some really stupid shit in interviews, videos, Q&As, etc. I'm sure many of you at some point heard or read some highly regarded engineer, maybe with impressive credits, who has mixed, tracked, or produced great sounding records, saying something completely off about either a mixing technique or a piece of gear, something that made you go, wait, what? No, that's not how it works, right? I personally experience what I call second-hand embarrassment when that happens. I do feel bad for them. But that begs the question, how is it possible that these engineers are able to make great sounding records and yet have some of the sometimes basic knowledge all wrong? How is it possible for them not to know what a piece of hardware they've been using for years really does? There are multiple reasons for this, and I'll try to analyze some of them today. Why, you will say? Why do I care? Mostly because I hate to see bad information being spread, you know that. And when it's spread by engineers who have following, credits, and credibility, they can influence a lot of young engineers who take what they say to heart, take for granted that what such engineers said is solid advice, when it's not, which is bad already because this sets them back in their path to become better engineers. But I've seen something like that happening in paid courses, and that's really fucking bad. So the advice today wants to be use critical thinking and don't take everything any famous engineer says as gospel, no matter the credit list, because while some of them are very technical, very knowledgeable, and good at explaining things, some others are not. So how comes? How's that possible that an A-list engineer with dozen great sounding records under the belt sometimes blurt out some really stupid shit revealing the little they know about a given subject? How can they get away with knowing so little and yet being able to mix great sounding records? Well, there are multiple reasons for that, but the first one is this: they compensate. Unconsciously, they compensate the lack of technical knowledge by having great ears, great taste, and good instinct. They get to the good result not thanks to what they do, but in spite of the stupid shit they do. For example, thinking that a given unit fattens up the lows when in reality is maybe low passing the high end, or that preamp is the secret and it has an amazing sounding harmonic distortion when in reality was the compressor doing that. So they simply can't single out what does what in the chain, or they simply don't know, technically I mean. Another example, when someone describes a mixing technique, maybe a parallel bus with some processing on it, that you know will create a phase cancellation when combined with the dry track. And normally that would be a problem, canceling out maybe some lows or some other frequency range or creating a weird stereo effect. And they go, oh, it opens up the stereo field. Yeah, no shit, it's out of phase, you dumbass. But they get away with that, either by compensating with other processing or simply doing something that fits the track. And you will say, well, if it sounds good, then it's good. Yeah, I agree. If it sounds good, it's good. But a bad advice is still a bad advice. And just because you got away with that stupid shit doesn't mean you should teach it to other people, especially if they are paying you. The problem is that sometimes what they think is the reason why they get a certain result is not. And they get to that result not thanks to what they do, but in spite of what they do. So if you follow the bad advice, you start your mix or your recording from a false premise. And if you don't have the same gift they have, the great ears, the great instinct, or simply the experience to compensate for it, it's gonna be hard for anyone to get out of a bad situation because you started your work with a preconceived idea that was wrong to begin with. And everything after that is going to go downhill. And then it's going to be hard for anyone to convince you that your favorite engineer said something wrong. Because, well, he has credits, he makes this and that, but we are all humans. And some of us are all about guts and feelings, and some other pair the guts and feelings with a bit more scientific approach. Allow me to use a metaphor as an example. Let's take a genetically gifted athlete. Let's say like Mike Tyson. Allegedly, he used to drink and do drugs, but then he jumped on the ring and smashed the opponents. Do you think he was that good because he drank and did drugs? No. He was that good in spite of those bad habits. In this case, it would be like if you asked him what his training was like and he replied, I drink and do drugs. That's why I'm so strong. Well, yeah, not really. So the point here is the more talented you are, the more leeway you have when you do stupid shit, whether or not you realize it. Because when we mix, we do hundreds little moves with EQ, compression, and levels, automation that for us are second nature. And we don't realize it most of the time. We're just doing them. And if we are asked to break them down, some engineers simply don't really know how to. They don't know how to describe it or don't know the technical part. And they don't want to admit that. And that brings us to the next point. Just because you're a good engineer doesn't mean you're a good teacher. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty great and very technical engineers out there. They really know things. But some others, not so much. How many times you heard, oh, I don't know, I just turn knobs till it sounds good? Which is totally fine. At least in those cases, they are telling you they don't know. But some other engineers don't want to say, I don't know. When asked a question, they feel like they have to reply somehow. They feel like they have to say something plausible. And so they come up with what they think a certain technique or piece of gear does, when in reality they don't really know. They only know how to get around it. And I couldn't nor wouldn't point out one engineer or one quote in particular, but I heard several, and I'm sure you did too. And a final thought, when we look at famous engineers, most of them are really the best out there. But some others just ended up being in the right place at the right time. And they do make shit up as they go. They are fortunate enough to work with great artists, great material to begin with, and so as long as they don't fuck it up, they're good. But that shows up when you break things down technically. And that's also genre depending. I don't want to get into that, not in this video, but the skill set you need to mix a loop-based, vocal on a beat track is not the same that you need to mix a 120 plus tracks rock mix tracked with dozens of mics and real instruments. Sorry, I know some people will get pissed at this, but it's not the same. It's not the same job. It doesn't require the same amount of time, knowledge, and skills. But maybe we'll talk about that some other time. So in conclusion, always use critical thinking, no matter who you're listening to, including me. And always keep an open mind when you try things yourself. And that's a wrap for this video. I hope it was informative and I hope you liked it. If you did, please don't forget to click the like button. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Join us on Facebook and Twitter to stay in touch with us and get all the news about the channel, upcoming videos and series, and access to exclusive content. Keep supporting MixBuzz TV by sharing the videos and spreading the word on blogs, forums, social media. Subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time.